Welcome to Swiss Art Biz, your podcast on the business of art with a Swiss twist. This is season 2. I'm your host, Tanya König, and today I'm joined by Marie Livie. She's a young art dealer and a gallerist based in Zurich. And before opening her gallery with her husband, Kaspar, she was a project manager for Art Basel cities. Welcome, Marie.
Thank you for having me.
How are you?
All good, thank you.
Now, I know that you actually just did an art fair tour. You've been to 3 fairs this year with a booth.
Yes.
You've been to Art Genève in January, to Arco Madrid in March, I think.
Yeah.
And Art Düsseldorf last month in April.
Yes.
So how was that?
It was very busy. And we're just a team of 2, actually. So it's really my husband and me, and then one intern who is working with us. So it's quite busy because, of course, we're doing everything ourselves. But it was really fantastic to be part of all these fairs and also to kind of get all these different views, you know. I mean, an art fair in Geneva is very different from Arco in Madrid, which is much bigger, more international. Art Düsseldorf, who is also quite a young fair, quite small, but very charming at the same time. So I think it's quite interesting for us also to kind of try different fairs.
I also saw that in November of last year, you've been to Art Cologne for the first time.
Yes.
So you've really see quite a few different fairs. Can you give us a sense of the appetite for the demand in these different places? How do they differentiate from each other when it comes to collectors' appetite or demand or what they're looking out for?
I think every fair is has a very different collector profile, also different institutions or museums that they are kind of targeting. And they're very different. For us, it's still a way of kind of finding out also where to show what. I think that's also something that's quite interesting. We still do a lot of solo and duo presentations because as a young gallery, I think it's quite interesting to kind of put a focus on 1 or 2 artists and really do a very kind of focused, curated booth in that way.
What's your takeaway from that? Was it worth it to do it like that?
Totally. I think it's always a risk, of course. It can go really, really well, and it can be very tricky because, of course, you never know what people are looking for or if they would be interested in this or that artist. But for us, it worked really well. And I think also for the artists, it's quite good because it's like a solo exhibition almost in a small scale. Mm-hmm. And the collectors or curators, they really get an idea of the artists kind of more in depth about their work. So that's really...
Was there any surprise in any of these fairs or something that you were like, oh, that was really nice?
There were many surprise moments, I would say. I think Art Cologne was quite interesting. It was the first time we were doing it. And it's quite a big fair. It's one of the oldest art fairs and a very important one, especially in Germany. And so we did quite an ambitious booth, which was a presentation of two artists working in sculpture. So Sophia Durieux, who is from Argentina, living between Buenos Aires and Basel, and Michael Seilsdorfer, who is based in Berlin. And they had been talking about each other's artistic practice for a longer time. So we thought it would be interesting to show them together. But it was quite challenging to mount a booth only with sculpture, as you can imagine.
Oh, wow.
It was just...
And you just realized that when you were there.
Exactly. We thought it was such a great idea, and, had the booth planned and everything. And then you arrive and you just have all these heavy sculptures that are kind of hanging from the ceiling and from the wall and on the floor. And so we had the most challenging build-up ever. But I think it looked fantastic. So that was great.
And also what I've heard recently, I think it was in a podcast that, or many are also just doing paintings, or that's what many galleries sell. They're less experimenting with other forms of art. So it's quite courageous to go just with sculptures.
I think it's always, the logistics of doing an art fair are difficult, of course. I mean, you need to think about it, and it's quite expensive. Shipping has gotten more expensive since the pandemic even. So especially as a younger gallery, it's quite challenging, and you need to think about it a bit more, especially for international art fairs. But I have to say that both Casper and I are really... we love sculpture, and we also love to make projects possible that, you know, artists want to realize. So I think that's how often there's different projects than painting also coming into play in our fair booth or also in our exhibitions.
And was it worth it? Did it pay off?
Yes. Yes, it did.
That's great. That's really nice. So I was at Art Basel, Hong Kong in March, and we also read that in NZZ they said that Chinese rich are getting poorer, so they weren't really going, and China has its own problems when it comes to economics at the moment or with the real estate. Nevertheless, I wondered if sales were also slower in other parts of the world, considering interest rates, high interest rates, inflation, etc. Is that something that you feel if you compare these past few months to the years before?
Yes, definitely. I mean, we've had our gallery for 5 years now. So we've also started at the moment that was not so easy in 2019. So just a few months before the pandemic started. So for us, it was, kind of starting an own gallery and then suddenly have that situation where you don't know what's happening at all, or you cannot do any art fairs. People are not allowed to really come and see your exhibitions. So that was really, really tricky. But through that, finally it actually worked well and we made it well. But now in the last few months, I have to say, we can also feel a bit of a slowdown in the market. And I think what we feel is that people take more time to take decisions, or they're not as quick and as enthusiastic in that way, So, yeah.
So they might like the piece of art, but they might consider if they can actually want to invest or not. Or
Exactly. So now at the fairs, what we also felt since a few months is that people come more and kind of look at things more, whereas before it would be more like they come to the opening and they would just
buy it,
go for it. And yeah.
So they might get in touch with you later. So they see it there and then maybe they get in touch a few months. That's also what the representative at Art Basel Hong Kong said. She was like, I don't know how well it went, because it could be that in half a year someone calls up because this person saw something at the fair and wants it. But it's just not that they buy it at the moment.
Yeah. And for us, of course, it's always more fun to be at the fair and then things happen right away. It's always very rewarding. Yeah.
Absolutely. Now, let's maybe go a bit back to just how you started. You opened the gallery in 2019. But before that, I saw that you studied marketing, but also art history.
Yes.
Art market studies. So did you always know what you want to do for a living when you picked your studies?
Not at all, I have to say. I was very, I didn't really know what to do, and I actually studied economics or business because it had so many different aspects that I found interesting. So I studied that in Vienna. I'm originally from Austria. So I studied that, but then also I was always interested in art, and I was living next to the Art History Institute in Vienna. Oh. And it was really beautiful. I mean, the library there was much nicer than the one at the Economics University.
Business administration is what you did.
Business administration, exactly. So I went there and, studied there. And then there were all these wonderful books and then these really interesting people who did who talked about their profession in the art world and everything, and so that really intrigued me and interested me, and so I kind of just did that on the side. I never finished, but I just studied art history on the side.
Okay, but you actually finished your business administration.
Yes.
Magistrat.
Yes.
Basically the masters. But probably that's a great combination, no? To then enter the art world.
Totally. I think it was great. And I did an internship at Sotheby's in Vienna, which was really, really good to kind of get an insight. And it's also, an auction house is always more market oriented, I would say, even than a gallery, where you kind of feel it more, that it's very much market oriented. And so that was really a fantastic combination. And at the same time, during my studies, I was working in an IT consulting company. So that was another kind of view on things. So it's a mix of different things that came together.
Yeah, I saw. So your Sotheby's internship, I think it was in 2017.
2017. I think it was even earlier.
Was it even earlier?
Yes.
Okay, so it was like 2 months that you did it, and then you went back to that marketing sales job that you had. So
exactly,
you had a bit of a taste of the art world, but then it took a few years until you actually entered where you actually worked at the gallery in Vienna.
Indeed, because I didn't have any family background in the arts or anything. So, and it's quite a difficult world to enter. I think a lot of people are very enthusiastic about it, and it's really fantastic. But to become a professional in the art world is challenging, because a lot of times in the beginning it's not well paid or not paid at all, and so I really had to kind of keep my my job in this IT consultant company, which was also very interesting, but it took me a while to really fully go into the art world.
But was it something that you knew, okay, I want to do that, or it kind of happened, or you were really looking out for it?
I really was looking out for it. Yeah, I think, I mean, it was also a time where in IT consulting, it was so easy to find other positions. It was really a time where, everything was so new, and there was a lot happening. So I always thought I would love to go into the arts, and if things don't work out, I can still go back. It's kind of like a safety net in a way.
Yeah. But then you actually worked at a gallery for 5 years.
Yes, in Vienna. And that was really fantastic. It's 2 gallerists who themselves studied business administration and are very kind of, they were very interested in the market, but also in the arts, and they're really, really passionate about art. And they started specializing into drawings by Austrian artists around 1900. So Gustav Klimt, Egon Schiele, Oskar Kokoschka, Alfred Kubin, so all these Austrian artists. And they really, I mean, it was fantastic because they gave me the opportunity to start without having had, a full education in art history, which was really fantastic. And I learned so much from them. And it was a great start.
Great start. Yeah. Wow. What did you learn the most?
What did I learn the most?
It's probably a hard question.
I think to still remain passionate about the arts, even if you're in there professionally. I think that's a challenge, because if you have a gallery, or if you're in a gallery, there's so many administrative things to do as well. It's I think from the outside you kind of see that we have an exhibition opening, or we have an artist talk, or all these exciting things. We're at the art fairs, but then there's so much in the background that needs to be kind of organized, and it's a business in the end. And then I think what they always did was fantastic, to still take the time to look at the work and to be really excited about it. And I think that's something that was for me important, to have that in mind, to keep that, to keep that enthusiasm and passion, and to take these moments to really look at the works and have conversations with the artists, and kind of that's the important thing in the end.
I mean, I've been to a few openings of your gallery that you have together with your husband, Livie Gallery, and I think I can really tell that both of you are very passionate about what you do, and also you have this relationship with the artists. So it is your job, but it is also your passion.
Yes, totally. And we both really chose to do this. We had other jobs before, and we were working in other fields, and so I think that's really something that we do very consciously in a way. Yeah.
But before you opened your gallery, and after your job in Vienna, you came to Zurich, or you came to Switzerland, actually, to Basel probably.
Yes.
To work for Art Basel, for that project Art Basel Cities.
Yes.
In 2017 till 19. What was the idea at the time?
So it was, I started working in a gallery in Zurich for an art dealer. And then I was just looking for kind of a new challenge and to do something different. And Art Basel at that time started this new initiative, which was called Art Basel Cities. And it was really about kind of working together with a city government to put a highlight on that city's kind of existing artistic scene. And so I started, and the first city that was involved was Buenos Aires,
yeah.
so Argentina. And that was a really, really exciting project. And so it really brought together a lot of things that I had been working with. So I was the project manager for that project, but at the same time, I worked together with Cecilia Alemani, who curated 18 projects in the public space in Buenos Aires.
Wow.
So there were a lot of different layers coming together, and also kind of working with a Swiss organization, with Art Basel in Argentina, kind of this whole exchange, but also kind of challenging project. So it was really exciting.
So you spent quite some time in Buenos Aires.
Yes, I was always going there, staying for a while, and then coming back again. So it was really kind of a back and forth. But yes, I spent some time there.
That project by Art Basel was then they actually did discontinued. They did not.
So the project for Buenos Aires was planned for 3 years. So that was also the time that I was working at that project, 2007 to 2019. And then Art Basel Cities was originally planned to have, several partner cities, but then kind of everything slowed down anyway, because also MCH was a bit in a more difficult spot. And then as soon as the pandemic came, it was not anything anymore that you could do, as you couldn't travel anymore, because the whole idea was to kind of bring people to that city.
True, absolutely. So the only Art Basel Cities edition was actually Buenos Aires.
Was Buenos Aires, exactly.
But a successful one in the end?
Yes, I think always depends very much how you measure success. But I think, several artists got, I think, good visibility. There's, for example, Gabriel Chaile, who was one of the artists. He's an artist from Argentina. And he does these really fantastic big sculptures that you might have seen at the Biennale, at the last Biennale that was curated by Cecilia Alemani. And he was really kind of prominently featured there, and also kind of has shown internationally and since then. So I think a lot of exchanges were made like that led to other things.
Yeah. So for the artists, certainly it was a good platform.
Yeah.
After Art Basel, then you actually opened the gallery together with your husband just right before the pandemic, as you mentioned, which is pretty crazy. Actually, you did not know that it was going to happen.
Yes. But opening a gallery by itself is already pretty crazy, I think.
It is, exactly. So I was wondering, both of you have a connection to art.
Yeah.
You already worked in the art field. Your husband, Kaspar, his father is also an art collector, so he also has an art background. But both of you are not from Zurich. He's from Germany, you're from Austria. And it's quite courageous to open a gallery. And then in a place that is not your hometown as well, in that time, as many mid-sized galleries also struggle sometimes. So what was the idea?
I don't know. Thinking back, I don't really know what we thought, but we were we're just really enthusiastic, and we wanted to do that for a longer time. And, Kaspar's parents are art dealers in Munich, so they've had the gallery for now more than 50 years. But in a completely different field, more in old masters to 19th century. And, but we just always wanted to do that. And then there was this space, and I knew the space since a longer time. And it was rebuilt to be a gallery. And then I knew the dealer who was there. And then I heard that he has to leave the space and is looking for somebody new. And that was just, it felt like, everything was coming together. Sometimes it's like that. I don't know. The project at Art Basel was ending, and then this opportunity opened up, and it felt like if we don't do it now, then it's not going to happen.
So it was more like suddenly the space being available and you thinking, okay, let's get it?
Yeah, somehow the space led to this whole, to the gallery. I mean, we had the idea before. We were thinking if we should kind of open a gallery in our own home, have one showroom or something like that. But I think in the end it was much better like this because, as you say, we're both not from here. So we know some people, but it's not like if you grew up in Zurich and you know everybody. And so in the end, for us, the space was really important. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's I would say, well located. It's very central, close to Paradeplatz, close to the banking district. Was that also a reason where you think that's actually good location?
I think we just thought, it's central and it's already a gallery. We don't need to do a lot of rebuilding. And it was just this opportunity that was perfect, And then it just developed in a very kind of organic way. And what I think is really nice is that we have a lot of younger collectors of our age who really started collecting with us or found that connection to the arts with us and are growing together with us, which I think is fantastic.
I mean, many of the artists that you represent are also around your age.
Yes.
Probably around the 40s, 50s.
Yeah,
40s,
or even
younger.
30 to mid-40s, I would say.
Exactly.
Something like that.
So relative young artists, both of you also young. I could imagine that you attract then a younger collector base.
Yes, maybe. I mean, you can never plan anything before, I think, in that way. But I think it's really nice because you hear that a lot in the art market, that it's difficult to kind of get new people interested in collecting or interested in the arts or exchanging about the arts. But I feel like for us that kind of worked very well in an organic way.
Yeah. Was that network also people that you knew from, I don't know, Art Basel or friends of yours, or how do you then build that base of collectors?
I think it was really a mix of things. I mean, there's some connections, of course, from kind of my previous jobs, but then also many people that we just met in the art scene. Just pretty randomly. Also, friends, colleagues, friends who recommend other friends to come because they're interested in the arts in some way. And then also some really random connections. For example, during the pandemic, we were closed for some time and people were just walking around because they couldn't go anywhere, right? They couldn't travel. So everybody had to stay. And many people just took walks, really long walks, and
passed by the gallery.
Because we had a big window and
they dared to enter?
Yeah, or they were, looking in and then checking the website. But we had 2 collectors who really found us like that.
Wow.
Yeah. So.
But they were already collectors.
They were already collectors. Yeah.
So I would say there's still like a barrier if someone is not in the art world yet to enter a gallery.
Yes, totally. We are talking about that a lot actually with Caspar as well, because he comes from a family who has always, they have a gallery themselves. So for him, it's never kind of, there was no barrier. But for me, very much, I have to say, it took me a long time to first walk into a gallery because it's kind of, I think it's not only the barrier of maybe you have to ring or the door is not open or something, but it's also this, in a museum, I think you pay your ticket and then you see the works and nobody's going to ask you anything or, in a gallery, it's a bit different because you walk in and some people have that feeling that they need to buy something or then they need to know something. Otherwise, they might embarrass themselves. So I think that's for me, that's the barrier, really. But I think, we're trying to really open that up and kind of to invite.
And how?
Well, to invite a lot of different people also to our openings and to artist talks, which I think is really good because then you learn more about the artist's practice and it kind of encourages more also to ask questions or to just talk to the artist or to us afterwards or to other collectors or to curators who are there. And then I think there's also other initiatives like the Zurich Art Weekend, which is really important to also kind of have this program and people can go to different galleries and we are open all weekend and it's just more kind of more.
It's more like an event.
Yeah, exactly.
And then people have, there's an event. Like you can go to an event, but just walk into a gallery without having a reason, no artist talk. With an artist talk, you can at least say, okay, I'm going to go and listen. So I have a reason to be there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah, I see. Now, when you started, it was first a platform for international artists, mainly German, American, Austrian, to present their work in Switzerland. Mm-hmm. In the meantime, you also have a lot of Swiss-based artists. So what do you look out for in an artist?
That's a very difficult question. I think, for us, we just visit a lot of studios. And we meet a lot of artists, and I think on the one hand somehow there has to be a connection through the work, which I think is very, very important, and on the other hand also with the person, with the artist. Mm-hmm. And I think it goes both ways, right? There's sometimes also there might be artists we would really love to work with, but then from their side, it's not the connection is not there. So I think it's on both ways. It's through the work, but then also on a personal level. On a personal level, it needs to kind of work out, and you need to trust each other, and just that.
Yeah, I actually feel that you have a relationship with your artists, as I said before. So this is very important to you, and you also kind of establish them, you build them up, you accompany them throughout their stages. Now, many artists in your gallery, or a few of them, have already won art prizes. Mm-hmm. You mentioned Sofia Durio before, the Argentinian artist. She won the Swiss Art Prize. I think in
the Swiss Art Awards,
2022? I think it was 2 years ago.
2 years ago, exactly.
2 years ago. And or Ralf Bürgin got the art prize by Alexander Clavel Stiftung last year.
Yeah.
Do you sometimes fear losing one of your artists to a bigger gallery at some point?
I think... No, it's not one of our big fears, I would say. I think you always hear these stories and then it happens and everything, but I think we have a very trustful relationship with the artists, and I think it's like in every relationship, right? You kind of try to be very honest with each other and transparent, and you have a good working relationship, and then if for one or the other it doesn't work out anymore, then you need to kind of go separate ways. But I think it's always, you can never glue somebody to you, no matter how many contracts you write or how many, whatever you do, it's always kind of, everybody has their freedom. And I think that's very important, actually. And what we think as a smaller gallery is also that we like to collaborate with other galleries. So for us, it's actually good. We think it's good for the artists if they have other galleries as well.
You're representing them.
Yeah, in other areas, Yeah. So, for example, if an artist, we show the artist in Switzerland, but the artist also has another gallery in Germany or in the US or in some other parts of the world, and then there's a collaboration between the galleries, which I think helps the artist very much.
Yeah, I saw that you did that with Eva Pressenhuber, I think, with one of your artists, right?
With Austin Eddy, yes, exactly.
So what did you do? You did a fair together, or?
No, so we're both representing Austin Eddy, and so she did an exhibition just now in Vienna, in her gallery in Vienna, and we did the 2 exhibitions in Zurich, and she's showing his work at some of the art fairs that she's participating, and we at the fairs that we're doing. So it's a really good collaboration.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that happens.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and I think it's important for the artists. I think it's different, of course, if an artist is with a big gallery that has so many locations that can really kind of do many shows. But for us, it's also in a way limited what we can do. We're very much focused on Switzerland, Germany, Austria, kind of the US. But I think, for example, for Sofia Durio, she has a really fantastic gallery in Buenos Aires, the gallery Benzaca, which is the biggest gallery actually in Argentina. And so I think that's really important, that kind of, she has a gallery in the country where she's from, and who is kind of working with the collector base there and with the curators and the institutions. And we work with Sophia here.
Yeah, actually it makes sense. And it helps you in the end as well, because you don't have, as you said, you don't have an outpost in Latin America, so someone else can do it. And it also establishes the artist there.
Totally. And I think ideally then you have a good relationship also with the other gallery. For example, with Benzaca, we did Arco Madrid together last year. And we showed Sofia Durio's work together there. So that was, I think, really kind of a beautiful collaboration. Yeah.
Now, you mentioned Zurich Art Weekend before. That's the weekend just before Art Basel in Basel, where many collectors or people of the art world are in Switzerland because of Art Basel, and they're staying in Zurich before that. So you're not at Art Basel with a booth, but this week is important to you. So can you give us a sense of how you prepare for that, why this week is so important?
I think, it's really the week where a lot of international curators and collectors are coming to Switzerland, really specifically for Art Basel, but also to see a lot of other exhibitions. And it's really kind of the moment where I would say everybody is bringing their best program, or that they're what they think could be a very important show, or really to kind of present something exciting to international visitors. And so Zurich Art Weekend has established really well. So a lot of curators and collectors, before they go to Basel, they come to Zurich. Often they also fly through Zurich, so it really makes sense. And then they go and explore all the exhibitions here before they head to Basel. And so for us, we're going to show a solo exhibition by André Butzer, a German artist, and he is going to show new paintings and works on paper. And so for us, that's a really exciting moment, and we have been preparing since month, I would say, for that.
What does that entail, this preparation? Is it picking the works? Is it also getting in touch with people to let them know that you're doing that?
Yes.
How do I need to picture that?
Yeah, I think, like for every exhibition, there's a lot of exchange with the artist, of course, beforehand already, to kind of plan the exhibition and to plan which works will be shown, and kind of all of that, logistics, about the transport and these things. But then also, yes, of course, to get in contact with the collectors and to already give them a first preview, or even if there's not a preview yet, to kind of tell them this and this is going to come, we will let you know more details later, but already save the date for this or that, and kind of to share information in that way. And also with press, of course, with journalists, to let them know what will be coming.
Do many collectors buy off the PDF then when they get the preview, or they still want to see the work?
So I think it has changed a bit through the pandemic, for us at least. It was really something that I think many collectors didn't feel so comfortable before. But since then, I think we are much more used to seeing only images of works. And I think it's easier for paintings than for sculpture or for installations. But it always depends. If you already know the work by a certain artist, then it's easier because you have a feeling. But it happens more and more, yes. And I think it's also this, a lot of times kind of collectors might be afraid that works might be already gone, when when they're in the gallery. So they buy before or make a reservation before and put it on hold to make sure that they will be able to have it. And I think it's also, in a way, things got better because our phones got so much better. Yeah. So we can just take videos and you have a pretty good idea. And also the photos are better. If you have a high resolution image, it already gives you a lot of information. It's of course never the same as standing in front of the original work, but I think there's much more information.
You started the year with lots of fairs. What else is planned? And most of the fairs are in Europe. You've been to the US last year.
Yes.
So what else are you planning?
So last year we did the Armory show as well, which is in September. We're not going to do it this year. Last year it was a bit special. We showed new works by Austin Eddy, who is himself based in New York. So that was kind of also from a logistics perspective easier. Because for us, shipping to the US is really, as I mentioned, since the pandemic, things got even more expensive. So it's a really big effort to do that financially. So this year we're not doing the Armory show, but we're going to do the Enter Art Fair in Copenhagen for the first time.
Oh, okay.
So that's a new adventure.
So you're trying many new, you're not, you don't have your gallery for such a long time and there was a pandemic. So it's a lot of firsts.
Yes, definitely. So we're still exploring and, it's like that you talk to colleagues and they're saying, you should really try that. I think I could see you there, so I think it's a lot by kind of word of mouth and recommendations and that. So we're trying that out for the first time, and that's going to be end of August, which I think is a good time for people to go to Copenhagen and to explore the art fair, but also kind of the city around it.
And that is at the moment it for this year.
That is it for now. We have other things planned, but they're not confirmed yet.
Okay.
It's for art fairs as a gallery. You always need to apply, and especially well, you always need to apply. So you always only at a certain time get the confirmation what is really happening. Yeah.
And are you thinking about redoing the fairs that you just did now for next year?
Yes, definitely. Especially for us, Art Genève was really, really good. We did that for the first time. And it was such for us, it was really, really good. And we showed a solo presentation by Ralf Bürgin, an artist from Basel. And I think it was really, really good because a lot of curators came from all around Switzerland, but also from France. So it's a good place to do a fair, I think. And then Arco, anyway, is an important fair for us. And I think also one that collectors really love to visit. It's which is also really nice. They do a fantastic collectors program. And Art Düsseldorf is also for us in a way important because this whole area of Cologne, Düsseldorf is just a good place to do a fair as well.
Yeah. It feels like it makes sense to stay close to your home somehow.
It always depends. It's always a bit more difficult to go further, I think, in a way. From a transport point of view mainly. I think then you have to be much more creative and kind of think about if the artist can maybe produce something there or has a residency there before or something like that. We would love to do also more in the US and also Asia, which is really an exciting place, I think, but it's just also logistically more complicated.
And you're a young gallery, you have time.
Exactly.
Hopefully step by step.
Yes, definitely.
Great. Definitely. Well, Marie, thank you so much. We're excited to see your works in the coming weeks or months. And of course, you can check out Livie Gallery on Instagram. And you also find Swizz Art Biz on Instagram. And as you've heard, Zurich Art Weekend is happening in the week before Art Basel, 7th till 9th of June.
Yes.
Exactly. So thank you very much for
Thank
sharing
you,
all your
Tanya.
insights. And thank you for listening. This podcast was recorded at Tablecast Studios, and Marcel Marton assisted this recording. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.